Welcome to this week's edition of Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman. My very special guest, friend, and colleague, Dimitri Penny, Trey Penny, we've called him. He's ran for the Congress twice. He's a sergeant in Dallas. He unfortunately was at the massacre in Dallas many years ago. We brought lawsuits on his behalf. We've talked about that before, but he's also an extremely intelligent and bright person and very good prognosticator of politics. I invite him to our show because I wanted you to profit from his feelings and what's been going on with regard to Joe Biden. This perhaps is the biggest scandal in American history. It's worse than Watergate. It's worse than Chinagate. It's worse than Filegate because it really delves into our national security. Apparently, as I've been saying now for years, we truly do have a brain dead president. In fact, even last week, it was revealed that he's been bedwetting. Yes, you can laugh a little bit, but it's really tragic. The Democratic Party covered up for him. The White House covered up. There are articles that individuals that worked in the White House were not allowed into the living quarters. We've got his wife, Jill Biden, who covets the position of First Lady so much that she would sell out the American people and deceive the American people. And we've got lawsuits on the way because I don't think that he's going to leave anytime soon. He needs to be pushed out legally. I've got something up my sleeve. You'll see what it is right after July 4th. We'll talk about July 4th. But I want to get Dimitri's take on this, particularly as a cop. It's interesting, that your perspective, as well as someone who has a doctoral degree from Texas A&M, I believe it is.
Texas Tech.
Texas Tech. Sorry, I probably just defamed you. Okay.
Definitely.
Right. Let it rip, Dimitri.
No, I mean, if you think about it, Larry, it's sad to see the current state of politics where we have an American president that's basically incapable of leading this country, but we have politicians or bureaucrats that have basically propped him up to make him appear to be leading the American people. And it's dangerous. I mean, you look at everything that's happening right now. You look at the economy issues. You look at what's happening with all the pro-Palestinian riots across the country, right? The immigration issues. And if we have a president that's incapable of understanding what's happening, just think about what it's doing to law enforcement. Think about what it's doing to our public service members that are on the border, that are trying to shut down and deal with these illegal immigrants that are coming in from foreign countries that do not respect our rule of law. We just saw this past week where Venezuelan migrants came in and killed a 12-year-old in Houston of all places, where I'm from, kidnapped and killed the little girl. I mean, it just baffles me. And not one word, you didn't hear one word from the Biden administration about that young lady's life that little girl's life being taken. And there's been countless others. You have other ladies that have faced that same outcome because we have a brain dead president. I hate to say it that way, but essentially we do. I saw a report this past week where it talked about the number of known terrorists that have crossed the border, and we're saying that America is looking for. Think about it. We're coming up on our 248th anniversary of our own independence, and now we're worried about the next domestic terrorist attack or that's going to happen on our soil. I mean, you got to think how dangerous that is for the American people, and I just really feel. I'm saddened that we're in this situation, and I just really feel afraid for all of our public safety and law enforcement officers that are on the front lines trying to keep us safe.
It's clear, Dimitri, that he's never been in charge in the White House. There are people behind him, mostly Obama people. You've got Anthony Blinken, Secretary of State, who lied about Russian misinformation earlier, along with 51 CIA agents and others poo-pooing the laptop of Hunter Biden. I mean, these people are not honest. They are corrupt, and they pulled the wool over the American people. They didn't pull it over us, but they pulled it over those who wanted to believe it, particularly the left-wing media. But what's interesting now is that now that they've been exposed, is that there's no honor among thieves, I guess is the expression, is that the left and the Democrats are pushing Biden overboard. They're pushing him over the Titanic before the ship of state sinks. But the interesting part as well is who will replace Biden. I believe he's going to have to go. He may hang in there for a while. We'll push him over with our legal case, which is coming down the line, hopefully. But we can't survive much longer like this because we are on the verge, not just of what's going on in this country, but we've got a war in Ukraine with Russia. We've got a huge war in the Middle East that can explode in even worse proportions with Hezbollah and Israel going after each other. Iran is days away from a nuclear weapon. Of course, I believe they've had one for a while. And you've got North Korea threatening the use of atomic weapons as well. China with Taiwan. Nobody's in charge. Nobody's home. There's nobody home. Reminds me of a Rodney Dangerfield joke with his girlfriend. He'd say, or can I come over? She said, nobody's home. And then he says he got there and nobody was home. So this is what we're dealing with. You can laugh about it, but it's tragic. And
very tragic. Very
this
tragic.
really is a huge national security risk for this country. And he has not been in charge. People have been calling the strings behind the curtain, the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. Now, the irony is that, he thinks that if he gets out and screams about the ruling by the Supreme Court this week, that presidents have immunity for official acts, they don't have immunity for non-official acts. By the way, that's not new law, Dimitri, as you know, that's been the law. They simply repeated what already was in effect for government officials. I disagree with that. I don't think presidents or anyone should have immunity, although I'm happy, for President Trump in this regard, that will push everything past the election at least. But the irony is that for all the crimes that he has committed, whether it's taking bribes from communist China, Ukraine, or Russia, or his negligent homicide in Afghanistan when he ordered a drone strike on 10 of our Afghan allies and killed 7 of their children, including a 3-year-old, notwithstanding the other aspect of Americans being left behind and others who died. When you couple that with the border, with allowing immigrants that are drug traffickers, human traffickers, sex traffickers, as you pointed out, into our country, including terrorists, I mean, you can load it up. And so the irony is he's screaming about the Supreme Court's ruling, which may protect him, at least in terms of government prosecution, once he leaves office. And I think one of the reasons he doesn't want to leave office, and Hunter Biden's advising him not to leave office, is number one, Hunter wants a pardon while he's still president, doesn't want to leave him too quickly before he gets pardoned. And of course, Kamala Harris will do it as well, like Gerald Ford did it with Nixon. But it is ironic and paradoxical that he's attacking the Supreme Court's decision, which may actually protect him in the end. But as you know, Freedom Watch has held citizens' grand juries, citizens' trials. We indicted him, we tried him, we convicted him of that bribery and negligent homicide. And he was sentenced to 20 years by a citizen judge, which we're seeking to carry out. We're looking for established law enforcement that will do it. But I want to get your comments about this, about the Supreme Court's decision, which, frankly, came at the right time for President Trump, but frankly, I don't, in principle, agree with. I don't think presidents should be immune from criminal prosecution. And this is a good example. He should be prosecuted right now, Biden.
Yeah, Larry, I look at this. I mean, look, I'm an academic. I try to look at things from all different directions. And the only thing that kind of gives me pause about the ruling is to think that in this short time that we have leading up to the election, that Biden could make really, really bad decisions leading up to the election and not be able to be held accountable for them in wake of this ruling. But by that same token, I don't want to hamstring our presidents. I do want our presidents to be able to govern. But there has to be some kind of good faith clause where they have to be acting in good faith in order to be protected by this, by their executive power. And I don't know. I mean, it's just kind of hard to read through the tea leaves on that because, like I said, we do want to have a president. We don't want to have a president that's handcuffed and worried about whether or not he's going to be prosecuted when he finishes office. But at the same time, let's say, God forbid, but President Biden decides he's going to launch an attack against President Trump supporters, and actually does something happens, right? Something something out of the ordinary occurs, and he couldn't be held accountable for intentionally calling for that. I mean, it's I don't know, it's dangerous. I just but ultimately we expect that we do have that our system of government is that it works. We want to believe that it works. We have for the last several years, we heard the Democrats and liberals cry about democracy being stolen. They're gonna, President Trump's not gonna leave office, and January 6th this, January 6th that. Well, look, the exact same thing is happening with Biden. I think this should have been a 25th Amendment argument a long time ago, because he's shown that he's incapable of leading the American people, and with all the protests and radicalized attacks on Jewish interests in this country, man, I think that should have been more than enough. With his use of the DOJ, that should have been enough to get him out of office. But look, we got to wait to see. I mean, this is a wait to see. There's no doubt that President Trump is going to pull off this election, and I'm praying that it happens. We have to get back hold of our country.
We've got some structural problems in our Constitution, and that's why we had our Third Continental Congress, of which you participated. We need to make some fine tunes to it. Problem is, in our entire history, we've never impeached and convicted a president. There's no way to get them out of office. I mean, they're like, the bad ones are there like cockroaches, frankly. You can't remove them. A nuclear blast won't remove them, figuratively speaking. And that's why there have to be certain exceptions to how you can be prosecuted if, in fact, you commit something which is not within your official function. And the Supreme Court said that, as a matter of fact. So that's something that needs to be considered. But I'll tell you who also needs to be held accountable. And this guy should lose his medical license and be thrown in prison. And that's this Dr. O'Connor that has been issuing on Biden's behalf, his personal physician, medical reports which said that he was in great shape, tip-top shape. I mean, this is a crime against this country. This guy has no immunity. He should be prosecuted right now. And today, Rudy Giuliani lost his law license in New York by this vehemently leftist, vile, and corrupt bar. It's much like the District of Columbia bar. They're both the same. They're flip sides of the same communist coin, essentially. Socialist coin, ultra-leftist coin. And what did Giuliani do? Nothing. So he loses his license. Connor, continues on as a doctor. I mean, he's like Dr. Kevorkian at this point, except in reverse, basically, So these are the kinds of things that there need to be accountability in this country. Now let's flip a little bit to other decisions this week, which I thought were very good by the Supreme Court. I don't usually praise them that much because they're very political, and everything's breaking, of course, with conservative leftist ideologies up there. But the Chevron decision I thought was very good, and I'm sure you're aware of that too, is that the Supreme Court held that regulatory agencies, who I used to represent when I was a Justice Department lawyer, are not entitled to this presumption that what they do is correct. The courts will be able to review the legality of what they do, and they're not going to, automatically be assumed to have promulgated a regulation which is reasonable. Now, I know when I was at the Justice Department, we never lost a case because the regulatory agencies were thought always to do the right thing, but they haven't, and they've destroyed this economy with over-regulation. So this was a great decision by the Supreme Court. Your comments, Dimitri?
Yeah, the only thing about it is that I think what you end up doing is bogging down the system with nothing but lawsuits. That would be my only drawback on not giving power to the regulators. Let's say, hypothetically speaking, we go back to some of the FDA issues. Like right now, we have drugs that were deemed to be oh my God, I'm drawing a blank on the drug right now, but they said that was causing all type of health defects, and the FDA approves it. So you got people that are basically being endangered because of the FDA. But you got to have somebody have to file a lawsuit to put that stuff back in court for the court to decide whether or not it was right, wrong. I just, like you said, we want to trust our regulatory agencies. It's just, I just think we're going to bog down the court system by trying to, micromanage the regulatory agency. So I don't know. I think it's definitely a fine line to playing with.
Well, those lawsuits exist now. Okay. The question is, it makes it easier for plaintiffs, for consumers and others to get relief, but it hasn't stopped people from filing those lawsuits. Probably you're right, Dimitri, there'll be more of them as a result of this. But there needs to be some check to this government that promulgates these regulations. And of course, the people that are in the government primarily are to the left. They believe in government regulation. They believe in almost total control of our lives, and this limits that. But in any event, let's flip to another decision which was made, which was also a very good decision by the Supreme Court, where they found that these J6 peaceful protesters and others that have been indicted for obstruction of justice does not apply. In fact, the courts have been reading that statute, I believe it's 1512, 28 U.S.C. 1512, very broadly, and it makes very specific reference to the types of obstruction of justice, which is basically the destruction of evidence, of documents, not trying to allegedly impede the certification of an election. So by doing that, the Supreme Court has thrown a monkey wrench into a lot of past prosecutions and future prosecutions. And I know because some defendants that I have consulted with were tried recently, and they were found guilty of obstruction of justice. Now, their entire convictions are going to have to be overturned because the prosecutors not only pushed this theory, which is not accurate, which it doesn't apply with regard to obstruction of justice, but also they made reference to these alleged felonies in the course of the proceeding in front of the jury, which prejudiced the jury. So this is a very positive decision by the Supreme Court. I mean, it was a big week for conservatives. It was a really bad week for the left. and I'm happy to see it finally in that regard. But your thoughts on that?
No, I think they hit that nail right on the head. It's unfortunate that we even have to go to this point, but like you said, we can't have the left drawing just pulling for straws and trying to throw everything they can to make it stick. We have to have this stuff. We got to have them using existing law, and the bottom line is they can't make it up as they go, and they made it up as they went. And unfortunately for the J6 people, they're gonna have a lot of these cases are gonna be overturned. I mean, I just can't see a way around it with the U.S. Supreme Court taking that side. So no, I think it's great. Look, this is time to go ahead and start pulling our government together, and we can't keep letting this, the dark shadow government that we always heard about. Now we're starting to see it with the Biden administration, and I'm glad it reared its head, because now the Supreme Court can start reining in a lot of these radicals and anarchists that want to destroy our country.
Well, it's a positive sign. We can't let up, Dimitri. I mean, it reminds me of, John McEnroe, the famous tennis player, who, when he'd get somebody down 5-0, would finish them off. Okay. Now, we're not at the point of finishing off the left. Believe me, they're still in control of this country.
You got to control the media first.
Yeah, they control the media, and they control Hollywood. They control nearly everything.
That's right.
So this is just a little glimmer of hope that we hope to build on at Freedom Watch, with our hard-hitting cases and citizens' grand juries and citizens' trials. But we've got them on the run. And, one of the reasons that the White House press corps was so aggressive with the press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, last Wednesday, is because they've been lied to, and they continue to be lied to. And she got up there and lied to them again.
Today.
Again. And she says, oh, he's fine. He's great. He's in great health. Look at his great record. Look at the great record he created. Great record. Unbelievably high food prices. Unbelievable high gasoline prices. People can't afford to eat. They can't afford to travel. You've got rampant crime in our cities. You know all about that, in Dallas and elsewhere.
And they keep lying in that report. They keep saying violent crime is down, murders are down. They're lying in those reports. That's I don't know where. Look, we've never seen a DOJ do this before, but these reports are not accurate.
Well, there's another one that should be prosecuted. The Attorney General, he should be prosecuted. He should be taken out of the Justice Department in chains, figuratively speaking. This guy's facilitated all of this. And so for Jean-Pierre to get up there and say, oh, look, what a great job he's done. I mean, are you kidding me? It reminds me of a movie that I saw when I was a kid. My parents took me to it. They probably shouldn't. It was called Guide for the Married Man. And the comedian was Joey Bishop. Okay. No one remembers who he was at this point. I was a little kid. And he gets caught in bed with a woman that he's cheating on against his wife with a photographer, a private detective who's taking pictures of him as they break into the hotel room. And the wife says to him, "Who are you in bed with? What are you doing?" And he says, "I don't see any woman. What are you talking about? There's no woman
Oh,
here."
I've seen that video. Yeah, I
Remember,
know what you're talking about.
Bernie Lisi was the Italian actress. He puts on his pants and just walks
He
out.
just walked out. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an old movie, but that's the same thing. Like, hey, we don't see anything here. You know, we have a great record. We did a great job for the United States. The United States is hanging by a thread. We're almost going under for the count. Hey, but we did a great job. We don't
Don't
care.
believe your lying eyes, Larry.
Yeah, yeah, it's unreal. So hopefully the American people wake up. But get your thoughts on this. I'm still fearful, and I don't tell people who to vote for because I run a nonprofit. People can figure it out. But I think there's a significant chance that someone like Gavin Newsom comes along, they insert him into this presidential race. He's a good-looking guy. He's bisexual. He goes both ways, so he can appeal to heterosexuals and homosexuals. He is very leftist, and he could win. He absolutely could win. And because the American people, a lot of times, most times, put a great emphasis on appearance, and he's very good at deflecting. He's a great liar. He's destroyed California, the economy there. But I think that's the risk. And so it's kind of like the dog that chases the car, and catches the car. Sometimes, you catch what you don't want to catch. And by getting rid of Biden, which must be done, there's no question it must be done because we've got national security concerns. But this doesn't work actually in Trump's favor.
I don't know. I mean, I think in every poll I've seen, they've shown that Trump is going to beat every last one of those candidates by at least 7 points. They've done Michelle Obama, they've done Gavin Newsom, they've done Kamala Harris, they've done Whitmer. Look, I've been watching these polls trying to see who's gonna, who can they replace him with. And I think what's going to happen is, I mean, we're definitely going to end up with President Trump. I don't see a path forward because I don't think you're going to have the Democrats that are going to be energized by any candidate that they put up, and all the Republicans are going to turn out. I mean, I see that happening. Then we just got to worry about the independents. We got to worry about those moderates that are in the middle that just kind of want to get the country on track. So I know they can't. There's no possible way that they can see daylight in the Democrat agenda. There's no way with the immigration issues, the economic issues, all this Green New Deal stuff. There's no way. I can't see a path forward.
Well, that's the case that needs to be made. The question, I agree with you. That's the case that needs to be made, is you have to point out that, hey, this wasn't Biden to begin with. This was the left that was in control of his agenda, and they've destroyed the country. So if you can get that across to most Americans, and they can look to the issues and not look to some guy who's an attractive looking guy, who looks young, Kennedy-esque in appearance, then perhaps there might be an opportunity, for Trump to ultimately win. And then, but also factor in the great potential for election fraud and irregularities in these major cities, because the Democrats are expert at it.
That they are. But I will say this. If California is any litmus test of what's to come, I think the American people are smart enough to know that we don't want to go that direction. I mean, some of the highest unemployment rates, homelessness, economy is failing. Most people are moving out of California. They can't afford to live there. Look, I think Gavin Newsom would have definitely a steep hill to climb, but we'll see.
Well, I hope you're right. I hope you're right. I just, I know that, past history, Americans tended to vote for people that had, an appearance, of being vibrant, of being intelligent, etc. Let's hope that is not the case. Now we're at July 4th, Independence Day. What does that mean for you, Dimitri?
It means everything for me. I mean, look, as a veteran who served in our United States Army, my grandfather fought in World War II. Someone who's revered what this country has given me. Look, I think in this 248-year years of independence, I think we have to appreciate it. It's about more than just barbecues and hanging out. You know, it's about everything that this country has given us. We have the ability to freedom of speech, freedom of religion. You know, all these the special privileges that we enjoy that other countries don't enjoy. I think we have to look at America and appreciate everything that we've been given. And because of that, I want to encourage everyone to just take time and pay reverence on 4th of July. If you have the ability to go by a veteran cemetery and just pay reverence to those heroes that have fought to give us our independence, please do so.
I think that's important as well. You know, Independence Day is something which requires reflection. Unfortunately, I saw a poll today that only 69% of the American people think that this is the best place in the world to live, the United States. That's really sad. It's dropped from over 80% in the last few years. And so we have to fight that. We have to educate. We have to tell people and give them hope that this is the greatest country and that we can turn it around. But it's not enough just to celebrate on July 4th. It's important, and I hope people, and we'll go to my organization, your organization, I don't own it, of course, it's a public interest group, to freedomwatchusa.org and contribute with tax-deductible contributions. We are your real Justice Department, not the Gestapo in the Biden regime. And go to your group, Demetri, tell us people where they can go to help you, because you help fallen officers, fallen police. Our police are really important. I have police that were in my family. He's now a criminal defense lawyer, my brother. But tell us how they can reach you.
Yeah, you can learn more about us at nationalfof.org. That's National Fallen Officer Foundation. Police support organization. We're fighting a good fight. We've been raising these issues about attacks on our public safety, attacks on our country for a long time. Had an opportunity to testify several times, actually the latest time of 2022, testified before the U.S. Congress to try to get a hold of this radicalized agenda. Back at that time, it was Black Lives Matter, trying to get a hold of these groups that were burning down our country. Now we're having to deal with that same agenda with the pro-Palestinian left. And I will tell you, Larry, they're not tricking anybody. It's all the same money. It's all the George Soros, the Open Society Foundation. All these groups are funding these radicalized agendas to destroy America. And we have to make sure the American people know that this is the same dark money that we saw back in 2016 that was fueling the riots back then and is doing the same thing now. We have to fight. You have to stick together. I love what you're doing with Freedom Watch, Larry. You have to make sure you continue to fight for us.
We will, to the very end. As Patrick Henry said, give us liberty or give us death. We will not roll over, period. Amen. Of course, the death part doesn't come true, but we just want the death of the left, figuratively speaking, not actually. But there's another decision, and I forgot to mention it, even though I was going to end with the July 4th celebration, and that the Supreme Court did decline this week to step in, I forget the name of the case, with regard to censorship and social media. And I think this was a mistake on their part, because even though they apparently structured their decision to say, well, we have nothing to do with private enterprise. Private enterprise is separate from government enterprise. And you're an expert on this. You actually have your doctoral thesis on this in part, is that these platforms have become public forums. They have taken on a public aspect to them. And this is not the first time the Supreme Court has punted on this. I went all the way up to the Supreme Court years ago. And Justice Thomas said, who I think is the best judge up there, Justice, he said, this is a good case. But his colleagues wouldn't take the case. And apparently now they did take the case. They shot that down. So I think that was very unfortunate this week. Your thoughts?
No, you're absolutely correct. Look, this is, like you said, this is not the first time that the Supreme Court has punted on this. You know, we filed a lawsuit back in 2017 against Facebook, Google, and Twitter for facilitating attacks. We talked about the black money, the dark money that was being used to facilitate riots against our American interests. You fast forward, you look at all the political stuff that has happened and fueling attacks against American interests. And look, there's more than enough evidence to hold these groups accountable. The reality is no one wants to touch CDA 230, the 1996 Communication Decency Act, and that's what's placing us in danger. Basically, what we're doing is we've granted these these social media companies, we're granting them immunity protection for anything, let's say anything a third party posts on their platform. This means that they have protection from what ISIS posts on their platform. They have protection from what Al Qaeda posts on their platform. What individuals here in America that just want to say, hey, let's blow up X, Y, and Z building. These companies have protection. And I think the Supreme Court has did a great disservice by sidestepping. Last year in February, I actually wrote an amicus brief in Gonzalez versus Google, where we tried to make them pay attention using legal arguments. And a lot of the stuff that I talked about in my my Senate judiciary testimony and raising awareness as to why these companies should not be immune from liability. And the Supreme Court, essentially, they punt it. They kicking it back to the lower courts. And if you think about it, the lower courts won't touch it because a lot of them, I mean, a lot of these judges are let's say they're controlled by the system, and it's just kind of hard to.
They're also controlled by the left, and the censorship's been mostly against conservatives and libertarians and people of faith, generally speaking. Shadow banning, at Freedom Watch, our number of viewers haven't gone up in years. I mean, it's just there's a plateau on it. It's impossible. But I did bring a case, more than one case, not just this one that went to the Supreme Court, but I brought one years earlier with regard to Facebook and Jeff Zuckerberg, if you can believe it. Zuckerberg is Jewish, and he allowed for posting over weeks from radical Palestinians in the Middle East to kill Jews and Christians, calling for another intifada. He allowed it to stay up there.
Yeah.
Even while Israel, demanded
happening right now as we speak.
Yeah, and it resulted in the death of people, and yet at that time the courts wouldn't touch that either, and that's the risk of this. There has to be a limit to free speech when you call for the death of people.
Amen.
You got the supreme leader of one that's on X, that's on Twitter, okay, spewing forth hate. He should.
I'm glad you bring that up, because I think it's important for the American people to know that we have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to hold these groups accountable, and we can do so by making sure that we are electing the right people and putting the right people in office that's going to go and fight for our interests. And it's unfortunate we have a lot of people that are being controlled by this system that are not going to do the people's work. We have to do better. We have to do a better job. We cannot let these companies that are being funded by all this dirty money impact the American people, and they're doing it. You have these pro-Palestinian groups. If you think about it, go back to 2001. Do you remember the Holy Land Foundation? You remember that?
Yeah, they were an unindicted co-conspirator in Dallas.
That's right.
Where they convicted the Islamic Society of North America.
The same thing is happening right now with these Samidon groups and pro-Palestinian groups. They're fundraising in America to fund the pro-Palestinian agenda in Israel. That if you want to say that definitely violates some of our terrorism clause. 18 USC with 2339 funding domestic terrorism, being a material support of domestic terrorism. That's it all day long, and we just got to get our political leaders to see it, to go after these groups.
Well, and the other thing is, these are not ordinary Palestinians. They're good Palestinians, obviously. These are the radicals. These are the people that align themselves with terrorist interests like Hamas.
Of course.
Some of whom are members of Congress, as a matter of fact. So Rashida Tlaib and Ilham Omar and others. These people are, in fact, part of the sympathizers.
The people that are calling for intifada in America, that there's nothing positive about intifada. And we have to make sure that we are raising awareness about it. There's nothing positive about these chants. There's nothing positive about leaders that promote the river to the sea. It's telling you what they want to do. They want to control. They want to take out everything from the river to the sea and control it. Meaning they're going.
Well, we got to take out the Ivy League schools and not the river to the sea, frankly, because they're the ones that facilitate a lot of this.
That's right.
Also, my former alma mater, Duke, hasn't been great either, for that matter. But in any event, Dimitri, happy Independence Day. You are a true patriot. You're my friend. You're my colleague. and I
Absolutely.
cherish our relationship. And I hope everybody has a happy Independence Day, July 4th. But also remember, it's good to celebrate it, but get up off the couch and do something. And join a group like Freedom Watch, freedomwatchusa.org, contribute to our cause. And of course, Dimitrik's group, give that coordinate again so people can find it.
NationalFOF.org, National Fallen Officer Foundation.
Okay. God bless you, Dimitrik.
God bless
We'll
you as
see
well.
you soon,
Thank you.
my good friend. God bless.
All right, brother.